Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Live Strong podcast. Now, if you are new here, my name's Olivia, and I am the founder and head coach of Live Strong, which is a group and personal training gym in Newcastle, New South Wales. This podcast is all about living your healthiest life, but infused with a little bit of chaos from my own. So let's get into it. Imagine, guys, if I just sung this whole podcast to you. Like this week, where I go. Okay, I'm just joking. You would actually disown me, I think, if I did that, because we all know that singing is not my forte. But hi, how you all going, team? We're back with the third episode of our new phase of podcasting. I'm back with my special microphone. I think the special microphone is a winner. If you don't know what the special microphone is, you must head over to the Instagram page and you must head over to the YouTube channel so you can see what it's all about. But I hope you guys are having a great week. We're doing a bit of a late upload this week, which is fine. That's so fine. Let's get into my highs and my lows of the week. I should really think about these things before I get on the podcast, but really, I think it's just a little bit more natural if we just talk about it off the tip of my tongue. So let's start with my low for the week, and that is that the weather in Newcastle has been so horrendous. We had 2 days this week where the sun was absolutely shining. It was so nice. Like, there was a day where I didn't even wear a jumper in the afternoon in the gym, which is insane. But then every other day has been like torrential rain, like rain, not like rain. And then even like today, which is Friday, it hasn't really rained much today, but like the forecast for the weekend is disgusting. And like this afternoon, it's meant to just piss down. So like, I'm just over it. I think I'm just over it. I'm over jumpers. I'm over the cold. I'm over the rain. Like, and I think those 2 days, like, they were great 2 days of sun, but I think it really, really confirmed the winter sadness that we all get. Like, it was like, here's a bit of sun, but not too much, because you can't get too keen just soon. Oh my God, I just looked out my back door, guys, and my really big tree, I don't have a tree, or I don't really call it like a long thing, in my backyard is dead. Tracy, I know you're listening to this. The tree is dead. Oh my God. Okay, that's sort of bizarre. Anyway, don't know what's happened there. Haven't been a good plant mum, have I? No. Now, my high for the week. Let's talk about the high. My high is also in relation to those sunny days I just talked about, but I went for a run on Wednesday with 3 of my good friends who are actually 3 of my gym friends. 1 ex-employee, 1 current employee, and 1 of my bestest friends who we're all friends essentially from the gym. All of them were clients. The past employee and the current employee, those 2 used to be clients as well. So we all met like as a family in the gym. And I've been running by myself every week since High Rocks, but on Wednesday we all went for a run together. The sun was shining. It was a beautiful morning, and I literally felt so good afterwards. Like, mentally, physically, I felt so refreshed. And it was on Wednesday morning, my day off. Or not my day off, I'm lying to you guys. Like, I have the morning off, so it means I can have a sleep in on a Wednesday. That's my 1 day a week where I don't go into the gym in the morning. And I really try and use that day to get sleep. Like, I try not have to set an alarm. But that morning I did have to set an alarm to go for the run. And at first I was like, oh, got to set an alarm and get up in the morning. But guys, I felt so good. So yeah, a little like learning that like, sunshine and friends can really boost your spirit. And I feel like that's flowed into the rest of my week. So yeah, that was my high for the week. Yay. Now, my big recommendation. Yeah, that's the word for the week. Again, I haven't quite thought of this. What shall I recommend to the people out in the world? I'm looking for inspiration in this I feel like nothing's really influenced me this week. I honestly don't even know what I've done this week, which is just, I know what I'm going to recommend. A coffee pod machine. Now, guys, I'm a bit of a don't care coffee lady. Like, I'll just have whatever coffee from wherever, I don't mind. So I do instant coffee. Like, I'll do home brand instant coffee. Don't care. I'll drink it, okay? But for my birthday, my parents got me a pod machine. And saying that, Nate's parents also previously got us a pod machine for our house, but we just didn't use it. Like, we didn't use it enough. We use it every now and then, but I guess we never really got into the gist of it. And to be fair, I drink a coffee every single day, 6 days a week at the gym. So I should have put the first coffee machine at the gym, but I didn't. But this new one, I put at the gym and I have it every single day. And I tell you what, takes 2 seconds, no mess, coffee tastes great. So, and they're not even that expensive, the pod machines. You can get real cheap ones. So I guess if I guess you can't have like the best coffees in the world. Like, it's not like one of those $1,000 where you get beautiful milk and your beans and shit. Like, it's just a pod in like water. But like, if you need a boost in your coffee life, you should get a pod machine. Don't know if that's my best recommendation, but it really makes me happy in the mornings. So whatever can boost your morale at 4:30 a.m, guys, coffee pods. Every day I look forward to those pods. And I have 2 pods at once, because in my head that's like equivalent to 2 shots of coffee, and it sort of gives you like a decent sized cup. So friends, sunshine, and coffee pods. That's the takeaway from the beginning of this episode, which I already feel like we're on a wild ride. Let's get off all the fluffing, because we all know that I love to just rave on with absolute crap. But we're actually going to talk about something educational today, because in the end, guys, I'm trying to, with this podcast, not only be relatable, but also give you guys just simple tips and tricks to help you live your literal best life. Because we all live our best life when we are feeling healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy, able, strong, all these sorts of things. And sometimes it's not as hard as, complicated as it might, always come across. So yeah, today we're going to do it. We're going to talk about my 5 tips to improve your nutrition. They're not crazy tips, but they're 5 tips that every person could implement and have improvements in their nutrition. I've even written some notes. I know, crazy, but I have. I was organized. I've written some notes. Or wrote some notes. Guys, English, you would think English isn't my first language, but it obviously is. So don't mind if you see me looking down. I'm just like making sure I'm covering everything that I've wanted to say to you all, to be direct and specific with my details. But 5 tips, like I said, things that everyone can do. When we think about, improving our nutrition, a lot of people think about the word diet, and putting themselves on a diet, which comes with the thought of not being able to eat certain foods. Like, that is what we think about, right? But the word diet is actually just what you eat. Like, that is your diet, okay? Because diet is like dietary requirements. It's your diet. It's what you're eating, okay? But we put it as like a negative word, because everyone has a diet, because your diet is what you ate. Like, if you went to the doctor, they're like, okay, so, well, maybe they won't say like this, but they could say, what's your current diet? And you could say, oh, well, I eat blah, 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 right? But we always think, okay, diet has to be negative. But we all have to eat, do we not? We need to eat to literally survive as a human. And that is sort of like our first point of call there, that like, if you're not eating, you're not going to survive. So we need to eat to survive. And what do we need to eat to survive? If we sort of strip it back to the basics. And to eat to survive, we do need to have a specific amount of carbohydrates. We do need to have a specific amount of fats in our diet. We do need to have a specific amount of protein in our diet. And if we didn't have all these things, we wouldn't function at our best. And, let's take it all the way back to the Stone Age, with the men living in the jungle and, in the rocks and whatnot, when everyone was just feeding off the land. Like, people needed to eat certain foods to be able to go and hunt, to be able to go to work, to be able to conceive a child. Like these, you needed to be able to eat certain foods to be able to do that. And that was those people's diets. Again, the English coming back here. Oopsies. That was their diets for them to do that. So we literally do the same thing now. But because there's so many options, right? And our taste buds love all the sugary and salty, processed, saturated fat items, that we sort of forget that food is literally just like for survival. Yes, food has so many other reasons why we eat it. And, I understand social, like eating around social events, and, it brings people together and culture and all these sorts of things. I understand that as well. But on a day-to-day basis, food is for survival. So we're not about these crazy fad diets here. They don't work. They may work for a few weeks, but they won't work forever. And that is the issue. And that's like, even, I'm getting sidetracked, but quick note. Like right now with the phase of like weight loss drugs and weight loss surgeries, which I'm definitely not against at all. I'm completely for it for people who need it. Like, that's so fine. But I'm sure everyone is aware that it is becoming more and more and more popular, and potentially easier to be accessible for people who maybe don't need it as well. But these people, no matter whether they need the drug or they don't need the drug, right, and they're taking it, they're still not learning those factors that are going to help fuel their body correctly in the end. Right. And I think it's something that I'm going to continue to see more as a trainer and a coach and someone who does, give advice for people's nutrition, that for like performance sake and for muscle growth sake, like we need certain amount of nutrients. And even if you are, losing body fat and, maybe that is you restricting your food, what sacrifices that come with in terms of other areas of your life. And, I think we're going to notice that a full generation is probably going to be easily able to access maybe these different options, but they're maybe going to struggle in a lot of other areas of their life because maybe they're not getting enough nutrients to do certain things. And like I said, one thing that mainly comes to my head is like building muscle mass. Okay, so I'm definitely about being realistic with my approach. I know I've given a really big intro here, guys. So let's get into my first one, which is biggest tip to improve your nutrition is cook more and eat more at home. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But think about how much on the weekend you eat out. And I know that like some people probably like, oh, only once. Yeah, great, good for you. But some people eat out nearly every meal of the weekend. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. Can you pick healthy options? Yes. But if you want to improve your nutrition, maybe you are trying to be in a deficit. Maybe you're just trying to, eat less processed food, eat at home. You know what's going to go in the meals. You can control the oils. You control the butters. You control, the portion sizes. Yes, you might still have chicken schnitzel and chips. You might still be having, cheeseburgers at home or pizzas at home or whatever it is. But if you make it and cook it at home, it's going to be better. And personally, a little personal tip that I do, because again, I love eating out on the weekend. We generally, one of the nights of the weekend, will eat out every single weekend, maybe twice a weekend. Maybe I go out for breakfast and dinner on the same day. But something I always try and do is have food organized for lunch at home, so that we have that option, because if not, we would easily be like, let's just get GYG for lunch. Like we just go to that default. We both usually get burrito bowls, chicken with our GYG. It's definitely not the worst meal in the world, health-wise. But like it costs us like bloody $45 to go to GYG. And, it's definitely not as healthy as having something at home, and especially if I'm going to eat out for dinner that night. So have food ready at home and eat home as much as possible. So that's the first one. Tick, done. Number 2, nutrition tip. Eat protein in every main meal. Now, you should be having 3 main meals a day, guys. Okay? It is the most suitable, realistic approach for pretty much everyone, sustainable for everyone to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A lot of people miss breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, in my view. It's going to help you fuel you for a big day ahead. But trying to aim for a protein source in every single main meal. Now, if you might be wondering, well, what does that look like? Like, how do I know what it is? That's your first problem, guys. If you don't know what your protein source is in your main meal, you need to go and find it. So like for breakfast, which a lot of people struggle with, your protein might be yogurt, it might be eggs, it might be, we're having a smoothie, so it might be like a protein powder or something along the lines of that, okay, for your brekkie, protein. So I need to have that. If I just have toast with jam, that has no protein in it. So it's a bowl on the protein front already, okay? Then lunch, same thing. It's like, what do I have in here? Do you have, if it's a salad, let's say, what is my protein? Or do you have no protein in it? Or if you're having a pasta, like, is there protein in it? Or again, you might just be having Vegemite on toast. No protein. So we need to look for our chickens, our fish, eggs again. Maybe it's yogurt again, whatever it is. Protein, and then same with your dinner. And that's also helpful when you're going out for meals. And even more important when you're going out for meals, look for your protein source. And if it doesn't have protein, I don't know if this is a bit harsh, but I would say that that's a not so good option, okay? Like, if your main meal doesn't have a protein source, it's your not so good option. If you're not going to stay full from a meal without protein. We all know how, or maybe we don't all know, but how important protein is for our recovery. It's for our muscles to rebuild. But protein is also carried into so many different functions of our body. So if you don't have protein in your meal, and you're eating out, you're already potentially having more calories, and then you're probably not going to stay full, and it's not doing positive things for your functions as a human. So bump. And you probably could have easily added protein to your meal in some way. So that's it. Protein. We would then love like 30 grams of protein in every meal, but we won't get too excited about the 30 grams yet. Let's just get protein in every main meal first. So far we're eating at home as much as possible, and we're having protein in every main meal. Our next one, sort of relating to, I guess, what I've said as well, but that is, you need to enjoy eating out. I think when people get into a deficit, that they always put eating out as a negative thing, and because it's negative in their head, it then leads to the idea that, well, that meal was quote unquote naughty, so stuff it. Now I'm gonna go and have dessert, and then stuff it. I've already blown out this weekend. The next day, and then it goes to the next meal, the next meal, because they've thought they've done something bad, like they're going to go to like detention because they went out for dinner. But life is about balance. So, and that could be not even in a deficit. It could just be someone who's trying to focus on nutrition or fuel for their workout. So whatever it is, and thinking that you're doing something bad, the concept that, you're not going to be on track by eating that meal out. But that is not the case, because you can still be social. You can still eat out. You can enjoy meals that you love, but still keeping balance. Big tips, okay? The first one we just talked about, okay, which was having protein in those main meals. So, think about it. Plan ahead, especially on the weekends. Think about when you are going to be eating out. And, like I just said, if I know we're eating out, I've already planned ahead, and I have lunches ready at home, so that I know that I'm not going to be overdoing it essentially, or really over my calories for the day or whatever. So planning that, maybe it's planning that, okay, well, I'm going out for my friend's 30th, but it's going to be a big night on the Pissy Poodle, but I'm just going to have 2 cocktails, and then I'm going to have seltzers or zero sugar drinks or whatever it is. And sort of having that plan, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Or, I'm going to drive tonight because, I need to stop saying, I'm going to drive tonight, I'm going to have 2 drinks, and then I'm going to be able to come home, or whatever it is. Planning in all ways, shapes, and forms is suitable. The next thing that I always plan, this is another Olivia trick, because, guys, I love going out. I love having some cocktails. I even love having a boogie on the dance floor. Get me some music, get me a margarita, and I'll send it. But I always have snacks for when I get home. And, they're not Maybe they're not the quote unquote healthiest snacks, but they're better than getting Macca's drive-through or a kebab or something like that. I always have something home, even if it's literally like chicken tenders or something to put in my air fryer. So easy. You come home, you waddle in the door, you chuck them straight in the air fryer, you go get in the shower, you come down, and they are done. So that's one tick. Plan of planning ahead. And the same thing is the next morning, having breakfast, like know what I'm having for breakfast. So maybe I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to potentially be a bit slow in the morning. So I'm going to want to have something yummy. Okay, well, I'm going to have bacon and eggs like I normally would. That's like a normal breakfast for me when I'm at home. But I'm going to have a hash brown with it. Again, buy your hash browns, put them in your freezer. One hash brown, macros aren't that bad. You're not going to die from the hash brown. What if I had a hash brown every day? Not ideal. One hash brown in the week, I'll survive. So that's me planning ahead as well. Hydrate well, okay? Even when you're drinking out, make sure that you're trying to drink water as well. And that's going to help sort of keep you a little bit fuller as well, help you, obviously stay hydrated and not dehydrate yourself all the time, drinking water. Move your body. So, keep yourself moving throughout the weekend. Don't just become a slob at home because, you've had a few drinks or whatever it is. The more movement, the better. What else did I write down? Know what's on your plate, which is sort of what we talked about before with the protein. And then, you don't have to be perfect. You just, if you had the plan to have the 2 margaritas and then the rest seltzers, but then you said, oh shit, I actually had 8 margaritas, which is a bit of a boo-boo. It's all right. Carry on, guys. Life will carry on. Your goals will carry on. You're not going to gain 40 kilos from your margaritas as long as you get back on your plan straight away, okay? On Monday. But if the thing is, if every week you're doing that, that is an issue. But if it's, like I said, it's my friend's 30th and I thought I was going to be a little bit more controlled, but I ended up going a bit cray-cray. It's not the end of the world. My best friend only turns 30 once. I move on from it and then I learn that, okay, well, maybe I could have made some better choices and I move on from there. Okay, we're moving on to number 4. Ba-bum-bum-bum-bum. Use food as fuel. Now, again, I talked about this at the beginning about, food is actually for us to survive, for function of our body and all these sorts of things. But also in terms of performance for the gym, really think about that your food is your petrol, okay? It is the thing that is getting you through that workout. It's the thing that, if you don't have that fuel in your body, if you had your car and you're running on empty and be driving like that. I know if I was doing that, my dad would be like, Olivia, we're going to wear out your car. That is what you're doing to your body. Yeah, you're probably going to end up injured. You're going to be under-recovered. You're not going to have a good workout. You're not going to get any gains. You're going to plateau. Then you're going to be sad. Then you're going to cancel your membership. And then you're never going to go to the gym again. See that? Crash and burn. Terrible. So that's not what we want. So you need fuel for your workouts and you need to fuel for your life. Okay. So having carbohydrates before our training and then having a meal within an hour or a substantial snack within an hour after your workout. Protein's also beneficial after your workout, but I always say just don't get carried away with the specifics. As long as you're eating something after your workout, that's what you need. So this was a good quote that I found and I wrote down, but when we're thinking about punishing ourselves and rewarding ourselves with our food and, not having the mindset that food is our fuel and more that it's a naughty or a good thing, shifting our focus from the thought of what can I cut out? So what could I cut out of my diet to do better or whatever, to what can I add in to feel better? And I think that's a big thing. What can I add in to feel better when I train, when I sleep, when I, wake up in the morning? What do I need to do to feel better, right? And generally it's not necessarily cutting out things. It might be swapping things, but yeah, that's number 4. And then number 5 is plan ahead and prep where you can. Now, I know we talked about that before with going out and being prepared for that, but this is week to week. And this is, I guess, sort of a tie-in of all of these things, because if we start back from the beginning where we talked about eating more at home, it's okay, well, we need to be prepared to do that. So we need to have, know what we're eating and know when we are eating out. So whatever that looks like. Preparing that protein like we talked about in step 2. Okay, so what protein sources are we having for the week? Again, preparing that. Number 3 was the eating out, where we already talked about being prepared and, having snacks ready and whatnot, and knowing what you're eating and drinking and whatnot. And then the one we just talked about then, fueling for your training. Okay, well, what are my pre-workout snacks? What am I going to have after my workout? And that all comes down to preparation, which probably is the key to success, with your nutrition, guys, is being prepared. And people hate being prepared. Like, people want to argue with me about being prepared for their nutrition because they say that they don't have time to meal prep, they don't have the money to meal prep, they can't go to the grocery store, they can't think that far in advance, all these excuses. Okay, well, I can't help you then. Like, that's sort of why my answer is, because you can be somewhat prepared. You can be prepared to the best of your ability. This is how I get prepared. Obviously, my circumstance is different to other people's circumstances, but maybe you'll learn something from this. So how I prepare my nutrition, my food for the week. I do my groceries online. I prefer to have my groceries done online because I can sit down and I can flick through the specials. It allows me to, swap in and swap out meals and foods based on what is on sale and where I can save a bit of money. I always find when I go, if I already write a shopping list before I've looked at the grocery store, sometimes my shop can end up being super expensive. So my first step is to go onto my Woolies app and to sort through the specials for the week, which will help me guide a plan. I then organize what I'm having for dinner for the next 4 nights, or for the 4 nights of I'll get this, right? Where I get my food. So I know what is for dinner for those 4 nights. I will buy the food accordingly. Generally, we'll do like a slow cooker meal or a pasta in the pan or something that will last for 2 of those meals. So we might have one thing that will last for 2 and then 2 other meals. Me and Nath generally don't eat till about 8:30 at night. So we need pretty quick and easy meals to make. And so I make sure that those meals are suitable for those nights. So I think about, okay, this is going to be for Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, Sunday we have time to cook. So you might have something like tacos, okay? Then I might have my slow cooker meal Monday, Tuesday, and then we might have schnitzels in the air fryer on Wednesday. And that's how I've sort of planned out my week. I've thought about the time I have, and I've thought about the cost of those meals. I know what I'm having. From then I work back and I get my lunches. We have the same lunches nearly all the time. I have tuna and rice, and Nath has chicken and veggies for lunch. Breakfast, same thing. I have Weet-Bix. Nath has 2 breakfasts. He has Weet-Bix and bagels with eggs and ham. So I get all those ingredients for our breakfasts and our lunches. Therefore, I've literally just planned what my meals are for those. And then my snacks can be a little bit more flexible. Again, I've shopped the sales. I've just picked things that we've liked to have before. But then I've literally planned my food for the next 4 days. I know what I'm having. I just know what I'm having. I buy it. I bring it home. I organize it. If I need to pre-cook something, it'll be pre-cooked. If I have to put the slow cooker on before I go to work, I already know that because I already knew I was having that for dinner. So getting organized where you can. Do your groceries. Prep the food. I know that I have the luxury of having my lunch at home, but Nath, for instance, he doesn't. He works in a clinic, so he has to cook his chicken. He cooks his chicken for 2 to 3 days, that amount, and then he takes frozen veggies to work. That's what he has. He doesn't have a main carbohydrate source with that lunch. He has his carbs spread out throughout snacks and his breakfast and dinner instead. But he gets his food organized. We do our overnight Weet-Bix the night before, and then our meals, we already know what we're doing. So you've got a plan, team. If you're not planned, if you don't know what you're going to be eating, you're already going to fail. You're going to get the takeaway. You're not going to have the protein in your meal. You're going to eat out and eat whatever the hell you want and without thinking about it, and you're not going to fuel for your workouts. So then you've ruined all of the things I just told you to do. And that would be naughty. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Okay, guys, I think we've done enough me ranting pretty much and raving on about nutrition because I feel like I got my point across. But hopefully that was somewhat insightful, or maybe not even insightful, but the insightful part was that the boring things does the job, because that's literally what happens with your nutrition. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be super controlling. You just got to think about the basics more than probably you do. But we're over that now. we're going to do rate or hate. Now, every week on the Instagram page, I put up a little poll thing or a little question box for my rate or hate for the week. I'm doing 5 this week. So make sure if you want to get my opinion on something, you put it in the rate or hate question box when I put them up. Because I've got a few funny random ones over the few weeks. So I've just been sort of like writing them down and slowly dabbling them out. But don't have to be fitness related, just anything. Whatever you want me to rate or hate, ask my opinion about, because, my opinion means a lot. Ugh, just jokes. So the first one was the snow in Australia. My thing is 3, 2, 1 in the middle. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. If I had to pick one, I would probably have to say hate. Hear me out. So me and Nath love snowboarding. We're actually about to head overseas for like 5.5 weeks by the end of the year for a big winter holiday. But I've only actually been to the snow in Oz once, so like probably can't give too much of an opinion. But the 2 things I don't like about it is, one, it's really expensive. It's pretty much more expensive to go to Australia's snow than it's to go to Japan's snow in terms of like accommodation and stuff. Obviously, when we go to Japan, you've got to take like an 8-hour flight. So like that's a different story. But yeah, it's like quite expensive, the Australia snow. And the second thing is, like, no matter how good of a season we have, the snow is still shit. Like, it's still pretty shit. So even though I've only been to Australia snow once, I've snowboarded overseas, I think, like 6 times now. So not that I'm a professional at all, but like I think I'm just privileged that like I've snowboarded so much overseas that the Oz snow doesn't really tickle my fancy. So like I think when we have kids, I think I would potentially like to take them to the snow in Oz as like hopefully like an annual-ish holiday, because I would love for our kids to be able to ride or ski or whatever they end up doing at the start pretty confidently, and so that we could do overseas snow holidays. But you'd obviously want them to enjoy that process. And I know Nath, as a kid, they did that. They went to what's called Charlotte's Pass or whatever, and I know that like they have so many fond memories as a family doing that. So I think that's something that we'd like to do then. So but like I don't hate it. I just like it's not my fave. Second one is mustaches. 3, 2, 1. Right, I love a mustache. I love when Nath has his mustache. I don't really mind. I don't know if you would say a mustache is like a rugged. But, like, I don't really mind, like, when Nath has his mullet and his moustache, and that's sort of my vibe. Like, the earrings, nose ring. Even though he took his nose ring out just before the wedding, which was so rogue. So I don't know if anyone noticed that, but, like, it's gone these days. But anyway. But, yeah, so, yeah, I rate it. Like, I'm not really into, like a pristine one, when the things flick up the side. Like, that's fine. But, like, if Nathan had that, I don't think it would suit him. You could just not imagine that vibe. Next one is double texting. 3, 2, 1, big rate. I'm a big avid 100 messenger. Send one, send another one, send another one. I don't know if I have done this rate or hate. I feel like I already said this, but like I feel like these days in the dating world, not that I'm dating, but like my friends that are dating, I've really learnt that like the double hating is frowned upon. Like, don't be too keen. Don't ask too many questions, don't overwhelm them. Probably mainly overwhelm the male, like, because I'm obviously on the girls' side, like I'm talking to the females. But like, fuck it, I send 1,000 messages. So like, I'm like this and then this is next thought and then this and this and this. So like, keep them coming, people. Next one, CrossFit. 3, 2, 1. I would say rate. Because I do see it as a sport and I see it as its, like, the beauty that it is. That's all I can think of. But, like, is it like I think it's a sport. That's the best way to describe it. CrossFit is a sport, and I think, I'm maybe not so much now, but I think, like, originally, like, when it became really popular, like, it was trying to be a little bit more like Gen Pop, where, like, but, like, you can't really be a gym beginner and starting CrossFit because you do need to have a lot of foundations. And I think that's a lot of injuries come from that. I did a little stint, like I think it was about 1.5 years, 2 years of CrossFit before COVID, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like really enjoyed the gym I was at. There was a female coach there who like was amazing, and I was like always in her classes. So like I enjoyed that side of things. I enjoyed the heavy lifting, new lifts, the competitiveness of it. Like, but I already knew what I was doing. Like I was already a PT at that stage. And I think if I wasn't already had a good foundation, I would have really struggled and probably not liked it. Would I ever do a CrossFit comp? No, because I'm not that passionate about it. And like, it's a skill. Like I don't have the skills for that. I could get the skills. Anyone can do anything they set their mind to, but like, I don't want to train for that. So I won't do that. But, you know, I give it a rate. The next one and the last one, we're flying through, guys, is heat packs. 3, 2, 1, rate. You know, everyone loves a heat pack. Who would say hate? They do sort of smell funky, but they also sort of smell good, like the wheat in them. But I don't know. I don't really ever use a heat pack. I don't really get cramps or anything. So touch wood, next minute I'll be like dying of cramps, but I don't need it for that. I don't. When I started doing more desk work, I used to get really bad neck pain, and I used to just sit my heat pack on my neck. Probably should do that more often, to be honest. But yeah, I don't really use it. Nath uses it more than me, to be fair. But yeah, if you want to use your heat pack, you use your heat pack, doll. Guys, this is the end. We've made it. I feel like it's been a long one, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've actually planned all the episodes to the end of the year. We're going to go all the way to the end of the year. Then we'll have a little hiatus while I go away. Like I said, 5.5 weeks we're away for. Then we'll be back in Feb. So, yeah, big things are coming. Big things in the gym are coming. We've done lots of planning. Like, I always, like last week, I didn't have much workload. Like it was just like a normal workload. Like I could sort of tick off my things, but it actually meant I had time to like in the middle of the day. Because when I'm not in the gym, people think I'm just like sitting on the lounge or something. But like I literally sit on my computer for like 7 hours a day. Like it's insane. And I think that's because like I'm still learning how to do everything. So it probably takes me for ages to do things. But like most of the time I'm there all day. But like last week I was like, I can even put the washing away. And, you know, there was other things I could do. And I'm like, you know, why have I been so busy lately? And then this week straight away it's like, okay, I hope you enjoyed your 2 days of freedom last week because we are back on the grind. And everything always happens at once. So there's lots of things happening in the background at the moment with the gym. Yeah, lots on. But anyway, that's fine. I'm not going to rant to you today. We're going to just move forward from here and sayonara. Peace out, Brussels sprouts. See you next week.